how to ask life-changing questions. Now, this is an essential skill for developing clarity in your life. This is one of the most important things that you can actually learn to do. Asking questions is actually a skill that has to be developed. Now, this video is going to tell you exactly why you really need to be working on this skill and how to go about doing it. So on the board, I have some tips, I have some reasons as to why you should ask a lot of questions, and I have a bunch of blocks as well. So let's get right into it. Basically, the number one tip for asking powerful questions that I can give you is to be open-minded. And I want you to view every quality here as something to be investigated. Basically, you want to investigate what open-mindedness is and what blocks you from being open, or what is curiosity and what blocks you from being curious. I'm actually going to have videos in the future basically on every single one of these points. So asking life-changing questions is an insanely powerful way to gain insight and perspective on your life. Really, open-mindedness is incredibly important, not even just for asking questions, but for interacting with people, really just being creative, especially if you find yourself to be a creative person. You definitely want to really focus on what blocks you from being even more open-minded. Now, I'm going to hone in a little bit more on the importance of open-mindedness with asking questions. So when asking life-changing questions, it's important to approach the process with an open mind. This basically means that we are removing our beliefs, our assumptions, our biases, and we're willing to question them. And really, we're not getting attached to any one point of view. We are willing to basically wipe the slate clean and see something completely fresh and completely new, almost as though we're looking at the world for the first time and we have no sort of previous conditioning to push us in a particular direction. We are seeking to see the world with fresh eyes. So be willing to explore new ideas and perspectives, even if they challenge your existing beliefs and assumptions. And this is really important. We don't really like to challenge our own beliefs. We like to hold on to our beliefs because we find a sense of security and safety in our beliefs. And really, a belief is like a restrictive force on our mind. A belief is something that we are using to cover up our sort of lack of understanding. So when we don't fully understand something, it's easy for us to just automatically construct a belief about it and then just kind of go on with our life. So I want you to notice how your beliefs actually restrict your mind from actually understanding yourself, the world, the people around you, and how your beliefs are actively closing you down. The next point is being curious. So curiosity is an insanely important quality for asking questions. You actually have to really work on this within yourself. I'm going to have a separate video soon on what is curiosity and how to become deeply curious. But this is really about asking why and how. Those are two very important keywords, really, just why and how. So ask questions that help you to gain a deeper understanding of yourself and the world around you, and don't be afraid to really dive deep into a particular thing and continuously ask why or how or what. Those are just some classic keywords for questioning. And you're going to want to really begin to look at underlying causes and underlying motivations within whatever it is that really you're looking for. So let's just say it's about your life. I want to make a lot of money. Why? How? Things like this. So the why can be so I can have financial stability and financial independence, or whatever it is. And then why do you want that? So I can move to my dream location. Why do you want that? So I can live the life that I dream of living. And why do you want that? So I can be happy, so I can feel good, whatever it is. So you want to keep on drilling into a specific question. That can be very helpful. You're going to want to cultivate some focus and just sort of hone in on something and continuously stay with it and keep questioning it so you can develop a significant degree of clarity. Another important thing is to reflect on your values. So you want to basically figure out the values that are shaping your life, because I have an old video a few months ago. I think it's like how values dominate your life. And we all have a value system that is very important in basically it's very important to how we make decisions in our life and the things that we do and the basically paths that we go down in life. So you can value, I guess, peace and harmony, and that's going to prevent you from, let's say, stealing and robbing people, or stealing and hurting people. I mean, that's a fairly obvious one. But then there's subtler ones, like you value ongoing learning, or you value questioning, or you value whatever. So you want to notice that that you have values and that they need to be clarified, and that we have values that we don't even really identify as values. So an example would be like, let's say you have some bad habits, like you go on your phone way too much. Unconsciously, you actually value going on your phone. One of your values is being distracted by your phone, and you don't even really know that, because at some level, you are finding some kind of value from doing that specific behavior. You find a sense of safety, a sense of, this is like a sense of, being normal, whatever it is. That's for you to investigate. Moving on, challenging assumptions. So many of our beliefs and assumptions are formed early in life and may not reflect our current values or goals. So questioning your assumptions and being open to changing your perspective is insanely important for asking powerful questions. If you are not challenging assumptions, you're not really bound to go anywhere. You have a lot of assumptions about relationships, about yourself, about your career, about reality, about science, about happiness, about every emotion, about actions and, whatever, like actions that you can do. You have a lot of beliefs about all this stuff that need to be actively questioned. And really, like I said, these beliefs are restrictive forces on your mind, and you can't really see reality clearly or relate to it in a very functional way, because a lot of these beliefs are kind of just running the show for you, and they were kind of given to you by culture, parents, things like that when you were just very young, and they're kind of just nonsense and completely blocking various forms of authenticity and creativity, curiosity, wonder, and just overall connection to life. Moving on, multiple perspectives. So you're going to want to consider really transforming your mind into this reservoir of various perspectives. So this one is insanely important for gaining clarity on how the world works. For example, gaining clarity on yourself, and I'll give you examples of that, gaining clarity on other people. So I'll start with yourself. We can have, let's say, a personality test. You take one personality test. You take the Myers-Briggs, that's one perspective. You take the Big Five, that's another perspective. You take the Enneagram, that's another perspective. You do some astrology, that's another perspective. You do whatever, some other test, that's another perspective. And through accumulating all these different perspectives, you can get a whole bunch of insights and continuously question how your own psyche works and begin to get a deeper understanding. Moving on to, let's say, relationships. You have one idea from this author, have another idea from that author. You have evolutionary psychology. You have dating coaches. You have, let's say, like, I don't know, more spiritual perspective, like masculine and feminine energy. This is all very valid and very important for creating a more holistic view of how, let's say, relationships are working. Now let's move on to, let's say, the world. You can jump between left-wing perspectives, right-wing perspectives. You can jump between science, religion, and spirituality, consciousness, meditation, let's say psychotherapy, various forms of psychology. You can even move to, I don't know, like, yeah, all the branches of science, like psychology, biology, chemistry, physics, things like that, mathematics. These are all just a lens for seeing the world. They're just one lens, and there's, I don't even know how many lenses exist, but there's a lot of them, and you need to really consider viewing the world from these various points of view in order to really break out of your sort of current conditioning, your current beliefs, your current programming, and really begin to see things from a different angle. And that will actually help you to ask even more powerful questions, because when you see things from different points of view, you can begin to see the assumptions of other points of view instead of being trapped in a particular point of view. So let me explain that so you get a little bit more clarity. If you're, I'll just say, a Christian, and then you can open up your mind to the point of view of, let's say, an atheist, you can begin to see the various assumptions within Christianity, and vice versa. If you're an atheist and then you're open to various forms of spirituality, you can see the assumptions that go into, let's say, materialist science or atheism. You can see that there's a bunch of assumptions there that you don't really know are actually true, but you're still living your life as though they just are what's true, which we don't really like. We don't really like questioning those things, but whatever. Moving on. It's important to consider multiple perspectives. Seek out the opinions and insights of other people. Try to see things from their point of view. This can help you gain a broader perspective on your own experiences and beliefs. Moving on is ask the difficult questions. Like I was just talking about the Christianity and the atheist stuff. A lot of our beliefs about how reality works and what it is, these are some of the most difficult questions for us to ask, because we find so much security in our beliefs of what the world is and how it works and how do I get my needs met, what is a relationship and what is a good relationship, and how do women work and how do men work, and whatever it is. So don't be afraid to ask difficult questions. Sometimes life-changing questions require us to dive into difficult or uncomfortable topics. That is actually extremely wise for you to do. If there is some kind of question or some topic you're afraid to explore, that is a very good sign of you need to explore that topic. That's if there's something you're deeply resistant to looking at or changing your mind about or just whatever, that is a perfect place to start and begin to develop the mental flexibility to just change your mind. It doesn't mean that you actually have to believe, let's say, some random new perspective, but you can open up your mind to the possibility of there being some accuracy within that perspective. So basically, we're working with opening up your mind, making you less closed, making you less ideological, making you less dogmatic, and throwing away your beliefs so that you can ask life-changing questions instead of basically your mind being ran by this old conditioning, kind of like tape loops. Like each belief system that you have, and each belief is kind of like a tape loop that is just going off, just round and round and round. It's like a pile of conditioning that is actually living your life for you, and you are kind of powerless to it because you don't even really understand how it works or how it's taking control of you and how you've come to identify with it, and it really feels like you. Really, beliefs are not only restrictive forces, but they are like an entity of their own. They sort of have this, like a life of their own. Each belief system actually likes to preserve and maintain itself. If you take your most cherished belief about religion, just a very controversial topic, you can notice that maybe you have some beliefs in there that you really don't want them to go. You think that this religion's the best, or they're all stupid. Like you have probably can find some beliefs about it that you just automatically assume are the case and they're true, and they're just really sophisticated, but really they're just kind of not. And there's many other valid ways to look at the world and what's happening and things like that. There's just a lot of other ways to view that topic that would also have validity, that are in contradiction to whatever it is that you believe. So really, we're trying to make you less ideological here. And this is not an easy thing because our mind really clings to our most cherished beliefs. So if anything is making you uncomfortable, if you find resistance to changing your mind about a specific topic, that's the best place to start. That's a perfect place to start. You would be very wise for starting there, really, or just at least making a note of it. If you're not okay with it yet, at least making a note of it and being aware of it and having an intention to return back to that particular topic. So don't be afraid to ask difficult questions, even if they are challenging or emotionally charged. And then the last one here is to actually just take action. So life-changing questions can inspire you to make important changes in your life. And this is why a lot of questioning can seem so threatening, because when we begin to ask questions, we begin to sort of undermine our belief system, undermine our assumptions, throw away our biases. This forces us to change, because we find out something that is true or authentic or sincere, or we find out something wasn't working properly, and we're forced to look at it and change it, which we might be a little bit resistant to do, because this involves some kind of change to how we live our life, how we think, and overall our sense of who we are, and maybe even our whole direction in life. Maybe our whole direction in life is just ridiculous and we have to completely change that, but we've spent 10 years investing into this particular point of view and direction, but now Lucas on the internet is asking you to question it, and you don't want to do that. And there's no surprise that someone wouldn't want to do that if they've invested so much of themselves into a particular point of view, a particular topic, especially if they make a lot of money doing what they're doing. It's really hard to begin to see what they are doing as bullshit. It's really hard to question the things that give us the things that we want. So if there's a particular behavior that we're doing that gives us a lot of money, gives us a lot of love and approval, gives us a lot of sex, gives us a lot of comfort, security, and all the things we need to survive, it's very difficult to then go back and question that stuff and change it and really try and find alternatives that can be more truthful and more healthy, and really begin to put our life on an even more powerful path. It's very difficult to question these parts of ourselves related to how we survive and what makes us feel safe and comfortable. This is the kind of stuff that we really need to dig deep into, or else we're not really getting anywhere. We're asking superficial questions. So be willing to take action. Be willing to take action on the insights and ideas that arise from your questioning process. This might involve trying new things, taking risks, or making significant changes to your habits or behaviors. So when you're asking life-changing questions, this requires a willingness to explore your internal world and the external world. It asks you to reflect and to take action. And by approaching the process with an open mind and a spirit of curiosity, you can gain valuable insights and make meaningful changes to your life. I'm going to give you just a few examples of life-changing questions. And I'm actually going to have a video in the future. I have 27 questions that I've already planned out. And I'm going to help you to gain clarity on the question. So we're going to ask a question and then continuously ask questions around that question. I have a whole video. It's going to be probably fairly long. 27 extremely important questions for creating a great life sometime in the future. But for now, I have 7 right here, and they're just examples. So what would I do if I weren't afraid? What is my purpose in life? What do I want my legacy to be? What are my core values, and how can I align my actions with those values? What would the world look like if everyone lived according to their values and goals? How can I make a meaningful difference in the world? Is this what I really want? And I want you to, just for the sake of it, that last one, is this what I really want? Apply that to your relationship, apply that to your career, and try and be very honest too. I really should have put honesty here. I always forget to. I have a whole playlist on honesty. Really, if you aren't honest when you're questioning, there's no point of questioning. You need to investigate your biases, investigate the things that you cling to for security, investigate your beliefs and your assumptions, investigate the fact that you avoid certain emotions, and that can drive you to have skewed results in your questioning. If you want to avoid uncertainty and anxiety, you're not going to question the things that make you feel uncertain and groundless and anxious. And we're just going to be missing a lot of information. You're just going to be, your question asking skill is going to be underdeveloped. So it's important to be honest, even when it's difficult, and it will be difficult actually. The whole point of honesty is really to transform you, and really if you're truly honest, if you are truly honest, it can't not transform you. And it's important to question, where am I dishonest in my life? Where am I dishonest? What am I dishonest about? What do I hide from myself about myself? These are all very powerful questions to ask that really people's minds don't even go in that direction because they don't even know that that exists. Moving on. Move on to why. Why ask? Why ask powerful questions? This is a powerful question to ask. You got to question why we even want to ask questions. What are some things that can benefit us? So right away, gaining knowledge and understanding, really knowledge plus understanding. These are distinct things. I'm going to have a video, knowing versus understanding, in the future. But for now, asking questions helps us to learn and gain a deeper understanding of the world around us. By asking questions, we can uncover new information, clarifying our understanding of existing concepts and challenge our assumptions. A lot of the stuff I was previously saying. So moving on, building relationships. Asking questions is also an important way to build relationships with others. When we ask questions, we show an interest in the other person and their experiences, which can help to foster a sense of connection and understanding. Solving problems. So this is about overcoming challenges, for example. So by asking questions, we can identify the root causes of a problem, explore different solutions, and develop a plan of action and really overcome blocks and challenges in our life. So really, I have a bunch of blocks right here to asking questions, and really we need to ask questions on every single one of these. I'm going to go through them very shortly, but like I said, everything on the board is like its own topic to investigate for a solid hour minimum, more than an hour. Everything here requires days on end to really investigate about yourself. Like, how do I become a very multi-perspectival human being? How do I become very curious? How do I identify my core values? How do I get, how do I know what the healthiest values are? How do I become open-minded, and what are my blocks to being open-minded? Why can't I take action? Why am I so afraid to take action and change myself? Things like this. So solving problems. Moving on to growth, like personal growth, personal development. So asking life-changing questions can help us to gain new insights and perspectives about ourselves and the world around us. By challenging our assumptions and exploring new ideas, we can expand our horizons and grow as individuals. That sounds fairly nice. Clarity is a big one. This is one of the things you'll notice immediately upon asking questions is that when you are questioning stuff, your emotions can begin to shift, and your whole sort of state can begin to shift. It's like a deep change in attitude, really, because we kind of walk around in a sense of already knowing and understanding everything around us, when that is not really the case. And when we begin to question everything around us, this can, it can bring up a lot of uncertainty and a lack of safety because we're questioning a lot of the things that mean so much to us and really hold our life together. But also, really deep down, you can sense that there's there's just something profound, something very deep happening there. It's like a clarifying force that is driving your life if you are continuously questioning. So clarifying values and goals. Life-changing questions can help us to clarify our core values and long-term goals. This clarity can help us to make more intentional decisions and live a more powerful life. And speaking of a powerful life, the next one is actually empowerment. So by asking life-changing questions, this can be very transformative and empowering. And by gaining new insights and perspectives, we can feel more confident in our ability to create positive change in our lives and the world around us. Of course, moving on to informed decisions. By asking a lot of questions, we can begin to have a larger reservoir of knowledge and understanding, like I was talking about earlier, and this can really change how we actually create decisions. So by gathering information and considering different perspectives, we can make better choices that are more aligned with our own highest values and goals. And next is basically fostering creativity and innovation. And this really, this is like one of the biggest points of asking questions. This is all about inventing new things, coming up with new, products, for example, new ideas, developing new solutions, changing paths in life. Really, this is a big one. So this can help to spark creativity and innovation. Or asking questions can help to spark creativity and innovation. And really, this is done by challenging existing ideas and exploring new possibilities. And I'm going to talk just for a second about challenging existing ideas. This involves challenging old beliefs, old assumptions, things like that. And it's really funny because if you're in some kind of community, if you like to question a lot, people can actually see you as very threatening. If you're in a community and you're very aware of the biases and underlying assumptions of that community, people might not like it if you begin to challenge all those assumptions, because we find a lot of safety in our assumptions, biases, beliefs, things like this. So let's say you're in science and you begin to notice some underlying assumptions about science. A lot of people in the scientific community will not like that because you are essentially killing science. You're killing the current form of science, and you're exposing certain beliefs and assumptions that we don't really know are true, that are holding a lot of aspects of science together. And the same thing goes with religion or any belief system whatsoever, any way of interpreting reality, any particular perspective. You can expose beliefs in physics, and this can really begin to change how physics works and how we see the world. Expose beliefs in evolution, the theory of evolution, in whatever it is, in conspiracy theory ideology, in relationship ideology, in personal growth ideology, in psychotherapy, in spirituality. Any possible lens to look at reality from has its own implicit biases and assumptions. And to challenge those is insanely important for developing new solutions and taking on new perspectives and seeing the world more clearly. But people can also see that as very threatening because they are very attached to those biases, assumptions, and beliefs. Those biases, assumptions, and beliefs are just their sense of reality. And if they don't have this curious, questioning spirit, they will just not like you. They will definitely feel threatened by you, so be careful with that. So asking questions is a fundamental part of learning, problem solving, decision making, and creativity. It helps us to gain knowledge and understanding, build relationships, solve problems, make informed decisions, and foster innovations. Now I want to move on to the blocks of really questioning. What blocks us from questioning? The first one is fear plus anxiety. This is probably the biggest one. Also, really all of these are massive, but fear is really the core of why we avoid asking questions. So there's a lot of things that we can be scared of, like maybe we look incompetent if we're asking questions. Maybe we look stupid or foolish for not already knowing, but really this attitude of already knowing and not asking questions is the more unintelligent approach. And basically people who can question even the obvious things, like what is a hand? What is a hand fundamentally made out of? And if you say cells or blood, skin, bone, tissue, but then what is that fundamentally made out of? What is that made out of? What is that made out of? What is that made out of? Where'd that come from? So by questioning even just the obvious stuff that can look foolish, like what is a hand, actually this is a very intelligent approach that is completely overlooked, and it can make us look like idiots if we go out in public and we ask, what is a hand? So, although asking what is a hand and really trying to understand what a hand is, this is kind of, it's actually very intelligent, because, in 500 years, our whole view of, let's say, the human body, including the hand, this is going to be very different. We're going to have a lot of new information about this stuff. So continuously questioning the overlooked obvious is insanely important. It's really not obvious. It's not even the overlooked obvious. It's just the overlooked. I should just leave it at that. So fear, various fears, looking incompetent. Basically, that can prevent us from asking or seeking clarification, and can be a hindrance to our learning and our problem solving. So fear of judgment, fear of criticism, also fear of just having our beliefs taken away from us, having our worldview sort of shattered. Anxiety can also really be a massive part. So questioning can make us feel overwhelmed and uneasy, and that can basically stop us in our tracks. Moving on to a lack of confidence. So a lack of confidence can prevent us from asking questions. We may worry that our questions will be perceived as stupid or irrelevant, or that we'll basically be judged, and we really don't want to be seen as foolish. So low self-esteem, lack of confidence. This is really in social situations. That can be a massive block. The next one is assumptions plus biases. I've been talking about this quite a bit this video. So sometimes we assume that we already know the answer to a question, or that there is only one quote-unquote right answer. This can prevent us from exploring new ideas and perspectives. This, like I said, attitude of already know. What is a hand? It's a hand, dude. Are you stupid? This attitude of already know is actually a very unintelligent attitude to have towards life and really reality, this present moment. This attitude of we already got it, we have the answers, we just already know. This is very dangerous and prevents us from getting anything new, and also it's dishonest because we don't actually already know. Actually, there's a lot more that you don't know that's happening around you right now that you probably don't even like to admit to. Right now, in this moment, most of this stuff, you have no idea what it's fundamentally made out of, or where it came from, what its value is, how we determine its value, or why the colors are the way they are, or whatever, so every answer you have, you can ask 5 more questions in relation to that answer, and then 5 more, so having an attitude of not knowing and a willingness to embrace not knowing is significantly more intelligent than the attitude of I already understand. Assumptions and biases. Moving on to time pressure. This can involve being in some situations where we just don't have the time to question, and there can be a lot of things. So let's say a fast-moving work environment. This can prevent us from asking deep inquiry, or if we also just don't set aside the time in our life to do this stuff. And really, this is important. It might seem like you're sitting on your ass on a chair asking random philosophical questions and it's not getting you anywhere, but if you sit with a journal and ask questions and really feel into your body, feel into your emotions, observe your thoughts, do some meditation, things like this, and you really try and even read books on how to ask, like just reading books, things like this. This is not a waste of time. This is one of the most intelligent things you can actually do. Really, you got to set aside time to do this, and you have to have some sense of focus and dedication to it. And as you put in enough work into this, you can begin to ask powerful questions that everyone overlooks. And this can really lead you into very profound directions in life. You actually got to dedicate yourself to this overall skill. Moving on, we have social plus cultural norms. So basically, in some cultures and social contexts, asking questions may be seen as inappropriate or disrespectful. This can create barriers to open communication and collaboration. So we definitely want to have some basic social awareness. I'll have more videos on social awareness. It's really important for living life. So when you're in a situation where asking a lot of questions can make people uncomfortable or threaten them, I would recommend not doing it. I would just recommend not being an idiot in social situations. Don't purposely seek to make people uncomfortable with your questioning. Really, if it's making other people uncomfortable, you can just stop asking the questions and then return to it on your own free time where you're safe as well. You don't want to ruin your reputation or your status. Yeah, I would recommend trying to actually have harmonious relationships. And also, when you're asking questions, you really need also a sense of empathy for people, especially if you're questioning them. So not like you're asking questions to like tear them down, but you're asking questions to understand. So it's a very different approach when you're asking questions because you want to, really your underlying motivation is to like destroy them versus to understand them. So you definitely want to be aware of the feelings in, the social context and the sort of goals and ambitions and motivations and intentions and the meanings and the values of where you are, and definitely don't want to go into a place and just kind of try tearing it all down or making people uncomfortable. So just watch out for that. I've mentioned that a few times, that you can make people very uncomfortable with asking questions, and really this can really just hurt your reputation, your status, things like that. It can really make you uncomfortable as well. It's just overall poor social awareness, social skills, and you want to have a sense of respect for people and their beliefs. Even if they don't want to question their beliefs, it's important to just still kind of have a sense of respect for them, because they don't have to question. There's no law in the universe that says that they have to question their beliefs, blah, blah, blah. It's wiser to simply be emotionally secure and not need to like force this attitude onto them. Instead of forcing the attitude onto them, we can instead actually just feel secure about the present moment and how we feel and our values, and we don't have to try to push it onto them. The next one is a lack of curiosity. So this is basically when we are basically not motivated to understand or learn. We're just simply not willing to explore, and we're not actually able to see the value of asking questions. A lack of curiosity will, of course, just end. All of these will end our ability to just ask powerful questions, right? It'll stop us dead in our tracks. So, like I said, we want to develop curiosity, and we want to even notice, like, when we have a lack of curiosity, like, oh, I don't really feel curious about this. Why do I not feel curious in my life? What's blocking me from feeling more curious and asking more questions? What are the assumptions I have about asking questions? Do I think it's a waste of time? Do I think it's stupid? Do I believe I don't have the time for it? Do I believe that it's not going to add any value to me? Blah, blah, blah. Moving on, we have shame plus embarrassment. So we may feel ashamed or embarrassed about not knowing something, which can prevent us from asking questions. Fairly simple. It kind of goes back to like the sort of social aspect of anxiety up here. It's like we don't want to look foolish in front of other people for asking questions, when actually if you just ask questions, you're actually on a good track. You're on a good path in life. Definitely worth it to just ask questions regardless of, I gotta rephrase that, not regardless of what people think, but it's good to ask questions that give you clarity. Be careful in social situations when you ask questions. That's all I can really say, because you can really piss people off. So anger or frustration. If we are feeling angry or frustrated, we may be less likely to ask questions. We may feel like we already know the answer, or be too upset to engage in a productive dialogue. So this basically goes with being ideological, being closed-minded, being dogmatic. When we are very closed like this, there's a subtle sense of frustration and anger that prevents us from opening up and changing our beliefs, understanding other people, throwing away our beliefs entirely, taking on a new perspective just to throw away that new perspective and take on another one. So what I'm advocating for here is develop mental flexibility and stop being so attached to a particular thought pattern in your head. Stop being so fixed on one interpretation of reality, like it's this religion or it's this scientific point of view. Be able to juggle various perspectives and then synthesize them and see the relationship between various perspectives. Actually have the courage to open up your mind and throw away your most cherished beliefs that make you feel so secure and safe. So it's important to recognize these blocks and work to overcome them. Let me say that one more time. It's important to actually recognize these blocks and work to overcome them. You actually have to work to overcome them. It's not just going to like happen spontaneously. Oh God, they're all gone. You actually have to investigate yourself and actively overcome them. So one way to do this is to practice self-compassion and remind ourselves that it's okay to not know everything. We can also try to reframe our perspective on asking questions, viewing it as an opportunity to learn and grow rather than a sign of weakness or inadequacy. Additionally, seeking support from others, such as a trusted friend or counselor, can help us to work through these emotional blocks and become more comfortable asking questions. I'm going to have more videos on asking questions. Stay tuned for my video. It's going to be like 27 important questions to ask for developing a great life. Something along those lines, where I'm going to actually give you 27 questions, and I'm also going to give you a bunch of practices that can help you to ask even more powerful questions and just generate them for yourself. Because there's actually habits that you can implement into your life that are actually going to improve your question asking ability, like reading a bunch of different books on a bunch of different subjects, meditating, exercising, basically self-care related stuff, like eating good food. Anything that adds clarity to your mind and makes your body feel well, this is going to help you to be curious and ask questions and be innovative and really be on the cutting edge of humanity, really. That's basically it for this video. If you guys have any questions whatsoever, you can let me know in the comment section below. But other than that, take it easy.